Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Flutter Boring Show. I'm here with Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Today, we'll talk about how to make Flutter better by the magic of bug reports.
Yeah. The key to progress.
Yes. So this is actually something that Eric, the manager of Flutter, asked us to do. Or actually, he just asked, like, did you ever show in the Flutter Boring Show how to file a bug? And I realized we didn't, and we hit a bug last time, actually. But we figure it's, when we're talking about slivers in that case, and when we found that bug, we didn't just want to stop doing slivers and start filing a bug, so we just postponed it, and then I found the bug later. But I think it's a really good thing to talk about, right? Because you do make Flutter better just by giving feedback to the team and all that.
Yeah, I heard something interesting that Eric said just sort of offhand the other day. He was like, software doesn't work until people use it. And so it's important to the success of Flutter that people use it and then file and let us know how it's working. These bugs can often influence not only quality but features.
Right.
People submit feature requests too. So they're very important for the engineering team.
And it's also something that, we both go to events and talk to developers, and sometimes you hear things that should definitely be filed as a bug and are not, just because people, I'm not sure if, is it going to be worth it, and so on and so forth. It's going to be worth it, we promise.
People are listening.
Yes. So anyway, that is to say, don't be afraid to file bugs, even if it's sometimes you don't have the time to really go deep into it. It's better to have a bug that is not completely ideal but is there, so the team knows about it, than to have no bug at all. I think you told me that recently, I think Ian was able to kind of triangulate an issue from like 3 incomplete bugs, but because they were there, even though they weren't perfect, they led them to fix an issue. Okay, so that's the theory. Obviously, search first. There's many bugs that are there. We might actually even show it later. This episode is how to file a good bug for Flutter, right? And I hear that Andrew has hit a bug.
I recently ran into a bug. So on my laptop here, I'm working on Veggie Seasons, which is a sample app up right now at our sample repo, which is Flutter/samples. And we're doing some work on it. We got our shots of vegetables from the studio. We have some people here who are photographers and actually took pictures of vegetables just for this sample. Thank you again to the retail studio. Those people are awesome. So it's a sample of our Cupertino widgets, which implement the Cupertino spec. And while we were working on search, so up here I have a search thing, and I can, if I'm searching for, if I just wanted to see asparagus, I can type that in. And if I keep going here, I can put in some text and filter them all out. But this is using a Cupertino text field. And I noticed you can go in and select text, and I wanted to see how that would work. And I ran into this. So it's a little thing. It's not the little pop-up tooltips for cut, copy, and I can't even paste. Does this? Paste. Must be paste. Okay. Aren't respecting the safe area as they should. And so this is something that the engineers working on Cupertino definitely want to know about. This is something that must have been a gap in the test or something like that. So this is what we should report, so that they can know that it's an issue and fix it.
Okay, so let's do it. I'll just be talking along, but most of the work, or all of the work, will be done by Andrew. He goes to github.com/Flutter/issues.
Yeah, so Cupertino is part of Flutter, the SDK itself. That's one of the packages that comes with it, built in. And so most of the issues, by the way, are managed through Flutter/Flutter. Like some of the things have their own little bits, like the IntelliJ plugin has its own issue tracker and stuff like that. But like our samples repo, for example, doesn't have its own issue tracker. We actually ask people to file them in Flutter/Flutter.
Sure.
So let's come in here, and first, let's see if there's an outstanding bug, which I have actually not. This could be a very short episode. I actually haven't checked this. Let's see what we got.
Okay. Horizontal scrolling.
So we don't open ones.
Yeah, I don't think it's there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good.
It would have been a very short episode that I hadn't checked that. So first thing, obviously, check to see if somebody's filed a bug already. You can come in and you can add your bug report to an existing one and say, hey, I ran into this with this code. Here's my Flutter Doctor output so you know what version I'm using and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Also, tips for finding bugs is obviously error messages, right? So especially the part which is, the same whatever you use, right? Like some people will try to search for things that include the path in their app, which obviously won't find what you are looking for. But like, for example, Kubernetes text field is the same in every project, so that's helpful. Yeah, and also if you just see a bug and you don't have anything to add, just can you open one of the bugs? It's helpful to take the first of the issues here and add a reaction to it with a thumbs up. This is actually what, like, we actually look at this, and the issues with the most thumbs up will kind of have more attention, right?
Because, the engineering team, they can sort by that, and those are the ones that people care about the most. They're going to get a little bit more attention, obviously.
Yeah. So whenever you feel the need to say something like +1 or me too, or I see this as well, or what's happening, just do a thumbs up, and it's going to be better.
Yeah, especially for feature requests. If it's something
That's
that
right.
you see a feature request for, like, oh, I wish there was a widget to do this, or I wish this widget could do this, something like that. If somebody's already posted that and you come in here and it already exists, definitely go in and be like, yeah, me too, that would help my app. That's in my, I need that use case covered as well. But we don't have an issue, so we got to go over to yonder new issue button over here. And so...
Right, and there's three things. Difficulty installing, that's not it. I have a problem with my Flutter app, or I want help writing my app. Most of the time you will probably click the button in the middle,
middle one, yeah. So that's what we're having. So the a widget is buggy or it looks wrong. That's definitely us right now. And so some of this is filled out for us, right? So we have...
Yeah, it's basically, yes. So there's... please don't ignore the comments here. So the comments tell you exactly what to do, and let's go through them one by one, right? So if you're looking for support, blah blah blah, that we did, right? Steps to reproduce. So I think any good bug has a repro case or something similar. So in our case, it's probably the repro case is actually pretty.
We have a guide for this people can check out too.
Oh. Wow! Yeah, I didn't know that.
Supposed to put this together.
Okay.
So
nice.
We also have a guide. We have video form and guide form. A lot of this, I think, is covered in the comments within the bug report tool itself in GitHub.
Yeah.
But if you would like a little more information,
the crash log code, nice.
Yeah. So this is there as well. Now that I've completely derailed your train of thought that you were on. I'm sorry.
No, this is good. So yeah, I was like, is this completely an unnecessary video? But no. So steps to reproduce. In our case, what's the step to reproduce?
So that's a good question. So we have, I'm in a fairly, this isn't the biggest app in the world, but it is, this app has some structure to it and things like that. And so I can say, like, I used a Cupertino text field. It was near the top of the screen, and I can detail those steps. It might also potentially be a good idea to try and narrow down this use case and actually get code to reproduce it in the bug report.
Yeah.
Do you want to try that real quick and see what we do?
We could try that. To be clear, I think in this particular case, this might not be needed unless someone wants to write a test case, which it would be very helpful, I guess. So maybe just to be like super good citizens, we can try that.
I wonder if I could just take this widget out and just use it on its own
Sure.
temporarily. So let's go into main here. And so let's see if I can get this all in a pastable copy here. And do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And then I can just like, let me come do that, right? And I can just say run app, and I'll give it Cupertino app. This is a Cupertino
Yeah.
widget. I definitely need that. And I can just do home
Is the search bar?
is, yeah, let's try that, just see what happens. This may just completely crash and burn, and of course I'll have to hot restart, which I recently found out there's a key command for. Do you know
Yeah. Command Shift
and backslash.
Yep. I'm not sure if that's on every.
Oh,
Oh, is
so
it
that
there?
puts me in the middle, but I still got it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I think we can just.
Let me
add
see if
it
I can just
to,
nudge this
yep,
up to the top
yep.
real quick. How am I going to do that? I could do
Well,
sized box, something like that.
Yeah, or just easy way out would be a column with one of the things expanded.
There you go.
Column.
I can't even spell column. Coulombs. We're measuring electrons today. Yes, let's do children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an array, actually. So it's good to pass in an array. Add some.
Yeah,
Make it
nice.
easier. And then just doing it like an expanded down here.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just do expanded like that, or does it need a child?
Ooh, interesting.
Finding new use cases. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's favorite default child container. Just like that. And since I'm in run app itself, to do. Oh, helps to get the right key command. There we go.
Ooh,
So that's
that might be a
right there.
little too
Too high.
um.
Here, we'll put a little size box in.
Well, actually, you could put it into safe area just to see, just to show that the whole thing is in a safe area, but
That's a good point.
I mean the column could be in the safe area, right? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm yeah. I didn't realize that you already have the size box.
That's
there.
okay.
No.
Hot restart.
Oh. Yeah, that
There we
sounds
go.
like.
Okay, let's see if I can still reproduce this.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Okay, so now we have our significantly smaller.
Yeah. Can you get rid of that, by the way? The set
Oh.
preferred orientation, just to.
Yeah, we can comment that out too. And I will definitely have to restart this one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. Okay, so we have. This isn't bad. This is still like 80 lines of code, but this is somebody can take this one file and throw it into an empty
Yeah.
Flutter project and very quickly reproduce this bug, which really, and you know, we're talking to mostly software engineers here. Everybody knows how much that helps find the root cause of a problem when there's no magic involved. So let's take this then, and let's just go back to our bug screen and see what we can do. So this is just a comment, right? So we can probably take that out now. So steps to reproduce. Well, title.
Title. I was gonna. You could leave it as the last thing because sometimes while writing. Oh, actually, it helps because it might help you find other bugs.
Which apparently is a new feature from GitHub. What do we call them? Tooltips?
Yeah, or yeah. Safe area. Okay. Yes.
Here we go. And so that's our title.
Mm-hmm.
And
So steps to
to
reproduce.
reproduce is next. So we can put in like a brief description and then.
Yeah,
a little more.
or like sometimes just your brief description is basically in the title, but yeah.
Like that. So I have this code.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'll move steps to reproduce up there because that's where titles go.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of things. Now we can paste our code in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I can pull out, some of these imports aren't used, so just the first and the last. Oh, shoot.
You actually can you just
Shoot, I'm referencing colors in here. That's a bummer.
I think it's fine. Is it fine?
It's probably fine.
I mean, you don't need this, right? The Veggie Seasons thing, they won't have access to.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the thing that they wouldn't. So this can come out. Oh,
There's another one. Is the
this is
yeah.
dark code, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Is the yeah
This
second
one,
export.
yeah.
Oh, you have the color there. Oh,
That's what I was
it
thinking.
Yeah, okay.
So if I comment this out, then I'm stuck with some colors that don't work. But I can do this real quick. It's like a background gray. I can just pull these out real quick.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, ideally you want this as few lines as possible, obviously, but you don't need to stress it, I guess. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Just take that out. There's an active blue in here.
Interesting.
All these things that all the iOS devs in our audience are like, obviously those exist. I'll make this one black.
Okay, let's try it.
Yeah, actually making sure that it still works is probably a good idea. So do a hot restart. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thank God it didn't work.
So you don't need all of that, basically. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and paste this in. There we go.
So yeah, the three double backticks, I think we don't need to explain.
Although putting the dart at the end of it, I don't know if that's required or not. I always do it.
Yeah, it's
to be like a little hint. Like, by the way, this is dart code.
Yes, yeah. So yeah.
And so we don't need this. We don't need any of that anymore.
Cool.
Don't need any of this. Commented out code. There we go.
Cool.
And so now I've got something that's all in one. So it's completely self-contained, and one of the engineers can just cut and paste it into a project, see immediately what I'm talking about.
Right. So we have that. Now, you know, the reason why they're asking us for step by step is often because, especially if you have an error, right? So they want to know what to do. But yes, exactly.
Now we have to actually have some random characters. Tab. Highlight it.
Mm-hmm.
Helps to spell correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Although that's optional sometimes. And then what do we do? So we, can I clear this? Yeah. So we came in here, we tapped on it, we added a bunch of characters, we double tapped, and then that's it.
Okay, and so at this point, especially if since this is a visual bug, really, it's really helpful to include a screenshot, which we can do. So, yeah, I mean, because as soon as someone who does computer widget sees that screenshot, he will immediately know what's going on. And
I should mention I'm running this on a device with a notch.
ooh, yeah. Nice.
What am I actually using, just so I know?
iPhone X,
This is
it?
XS Max.
Ooh. Is it slower?
10S Max? Is that how you
I
pronounce it?
don't-
Because it was the
I
iPhone
know.
10 instead
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
iPhone X, even though I called it the
10S
X
Max?
for like 3 months.
Yeah, I just say X, and that's it. Okay, so
So we got that, and you were just talking about taking a
screenshots.
picture. Okay.
Yes. So make a screenshot on a Mac. That's pretty easy.
So we can do, what is it like?
Command Shift 4 and then space is my favorite.
What's the one where you get to connect? You can like draw the box that you're cutting out.
That's Command Shift 4.
Oh,
Command Shift
yeah.
4, yeah. But then if you do space now, just hover over it and do tick.
Ah.
And
So
that will
does that
immediately
make- Okay.
that will give you like a screenshot of that window only.
Does it go to the file system or?
It goes to the desktop for
Okay.
me.
So I think one of the other things, I think it's easier to do from my keyboard. I think it's this one. So Control Shift Command 4 will do it to the clipboard.
Oh.
And so we could come in here and do this.
I didn't know that.
And I think I can come in and just go like that.
That's cool.
I can't remember who told me that.
Preview.
So we got our nicely formatted.
Yeah, nice.
My, that's huge.
That's normal. That's fine.
Okay.
Um,
It's a very large bug. Okay, so let's go back into our right thing.
Okay, yeah, and I think you're basically done. I mean, if this was an error, again, we could do... actually, let's use
do
it.
Flutter Doctor real quick.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Um,
Always a good idea to include this, I feel, even if they don't
Yes.
need it. Nobody's ever
I
sad
think-
to see Flutter Doctor.
I think -v is what they are asking for, just because
Oh.
it gives you more
Can we
info.
do that too?
Is it? Is it?
Like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bam.
All check marks. All
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay. So that's one, and I also want to just show how to do Flutter Run verbose from an IDE, which is not completely, like some.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have it there.
Mhm.
I mean, the Flutter Doctor is there.
Mhm.
So. Yeah, normally, like what I would normally do is just open a terminal and just run Flutter run -- verbose, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't like terminals, and I don't blame you, you just go to the run configuration or debug configuration actually, which is I think over here in the main, like
Oh, you mean like
yeah,
in here?
yeah,
Edit
edit configuration, and just add position additional arguments -- verbose. I think that's what it is, right?
Like that?
Can you go back to the GitHub, the Flutter Run verbose, yes, which is I think that's what it does, and now you'll always run verbose, but if you do like
So I'd have to
debug,
restart this at this
Yeah,
point, right?
yeah.
Like completely restart the process.
see, and
Whoa.
you get all this. So I still recommend terminal, but if you prefer this, that's great. And you can just
that is indeed verbose.
it is very verbose, correct. So yeah, I think is there something else that they are?
So let's go back and so we got to paste in.
Yeah, I don't think in this particular case anybody is actually interested in logs.
Yeah, not
Are
for
they-
the. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I can always put Flutter Doctor so everybody knows what version of the SDK
Yes,
I'm using.
that's true. Oh, and Flutter Analyze as well. So I think that just to follow what they want, the Flutter Doctor is at the end.
Oh, I messed up the.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay. Let me just back all of this.
Mm-hmm.
up.
Yeah,
Yes, I'll take this like fake headline that I made out.
yeah. That's where. Okay.
There we go. Following the instructions for the win. I don't think there's anything here.
Yeah, I know. Ooh.
Oh, because we just pasted all that code in.
Right.
And I'm in the middle of implementing something completely
No.
unrelated.
Yeah. Let's not. Just pretend there's
Yeah,
nothing.
okay. It is normally a good idea, and
Yes.
to be honest, you should always have, you should always use analyzer. What is my FA alias that I use all the time? It's like It like looks for Dart files and then pipes them into Flutter format and then runs Flutter analyze after that.
Ooh.
It's
Dart- Dart format, or what do you mean?
yeah. What is
Oh, Flutter.
FA? This one.
Flutter format and Flutter analyze.
I use this all the time.
Oh, I like that you have an
So it
alias
like looks
for
for
that.
all the Dart files, pipes them into Flutter format using xargs, and then after that, so they're all formatted in place, and then after that it runs Flutter analyze. So like that's my last thing before I try to commit code.
Mm-hmm.
I run that alias.
Do you have a Dart installed? Because what I do, I don't
installed
have
Dart,
that.
the actual like I have the Dart SDK that
Yeah.
that Flutter installs in its cache.
Oh, okay. So that's you don't, yeah, because like if you at home you have Dart installed, you just do Dart format dot for on the, and it will just go through the whole directory and will analyze and format everything, which is
Okay.
cool. Which is really cool. Anyway, but we're on a tangent here. So I think we have that. So just some things to realize. So we did add a repro case. We did follow the instructions that they gave us. We're not. One thing that actually the Flutter community is really good at, but in general in open source sometimes it's not that great, is the lack of emotions. Sometimes bug reports can have a little bit of how could this be, and all this. So thank you, Flutter community, for being awesome, and keep doing this. There is.
Should I go ahead and submit this, by the way?
I'm just going through checklist here.
Okay.
So there's the expected behavior, right, which we did not include. In this case, I think it's it's sort of obvious, but there's a reason why people ask for it in bugs, because if sometimes it's like, oh, this doesn't work, and you as a developer or the developer of that tool will be like, okay, so what did you expect to happen, right? So expected behavior is great.
Yeah, because every once in a while you run into something that it works, but it doesn't work in the way that you were intending to use it. And
Yeah.
if you change up how you're using it, it's fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay, and sometimes it's, haven't seen this come up in the case of Flutter, but poor API design in other things I've seen before. Like suddenly you see bugs where just
Right.
the API was designed in such a way that nobody really understands how to use it properly.
Right.
And so that is a bug with the API.
Yes. More content is almost always better than less. So if you're undecisive, just add it. Screenshot videos we did, so that's great. There's often, if you're an engineer, you will immediately jump to solutions and diagnosis. And what works best always in bugs is just the symptoms, and then you can add the your diagnosis. But sometimes I do this a lot. I'm like, I think this should be fixed by X,
hard
and
to
then
resist.
and someone's like, ugh, no. So that's great, and I really like the mongoose versus antelope. What do you call it? Like metaphor? You don't know it? So apparently, I don't know where I read it, but basically, and I do this all the time. If I find a bug, I act as a mongoose. Like I see something and like immediately I try to fix it in many different ways. And I Flutter clean everything and do all these things. So I'm like a mongoose that's attacked, right? And the antelope, what it does if it's tagged or like if there's some trouble, it freezes. So you should be an antelope. Like if something
Like
is a
freezes,
bug,
like,
you're
stopping
like,
thing?
okay, like you don't touch anything. Don't like sometimes it's really helpful to have your computer in the state where it happened,
Yeah.
because you could be you could basically erase some of the stuff that the implementer then needs to see. And sometimes you actually, by trying to fix the bug, you will have another thing that kind of counteracts the bug, but it actually doesn't help because either you don't report it then, or it's just there's two levels of bugs that need to be unrolled. So if something doesn't work, kind of assume that this is a bug with Flutter and report it before trying to figure out stuff. Okay, so that's great. Let's submit. I think,
Okay.
right? If you're happy, I'm happy.
And before we should talk about what happens to a bug after this.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick before we move on, this has come up a couple times when I've talked to people just randomly at talks and things like that. There are people who feel reluctant to file a bug because they just assume it's their fault somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
And I should make clear, the engineering team, they really want bug reports because it helps them make the SDK better, makes Flutter better for everybody. But also, Flutter, I mean, everybody on Flutter, and I've seen in the community for the most part, they're not jerks. Like, no one has. I've filed bad bug reports before that were my fault. I've posted emails to the Google group before, like, where it was clearly like I'm the only one in the room that doesn't understand what's going on. Like, that's happened to me. And people were very patient and very nice about it. No one is going to jump on your bug report and be like, "Oh, you're stupid. You should have just done this and this, and you would have worked around this problem." That is not going to happen to anybody that submits a bug report. So if you run into something, and especially if you take the steps to isolate it and give a good bug report, people will react with appreciation. Even if it ends up not being a problem with the SDK itself, they're still going to be glad that you came to them. So don't be afraid to file one.
Yeah. Cool. So we have our bug. Let's see what other things we have in GitHub that people might like to look at. So
Yeah, sure.
So there's issues, there's code, obviously, pull requests, projects. What's projects?
Oh yeah, so projects, I think we've talked about a little bit of this before. This came up during the Ask Flutter part, the Q&A, a little bit. But Flutter's open source. It's also developed in the open for the most part. Like almost everything that's going on with Flutter, you can find people working on GitHub, and that includes project planning for a lot of stuff. So Cupertino table view right now is being worked on. That's another Cupertino widget that's coming along, and so you can come in here and say, okay, I want to know, what's the progress of this? You can, and here it is. Like these are the issues where the team is tracking what's going on. So looks like there are a few widget work, features that are still being done over here. Edit mode, some reordering stuff. He's got some other tasks. Looks like Matt's the one working on it. About getting into the Flutter gallery so people can see it there, and it's a good way to test it. But this is, if you're ever curious what people are working on or anything like that, you can come into this projects page and get a good handle on it.
Yeah, I like how
is up here.
Yeah, I like how if you just look at issues, right? Like you have a bunch of issues that are just like unstructured. This is the structured way of like how the Flutter team sees the work ahead. So I think that's really cool to look at.
And so this looks like some tooling stuff that Greg's working on.
Mm-hmm.
So even some of these like speed up PubGet and bots is just like testing framework stuff that like the average person, I never have to think about that, because Greg does it. But it's still there. You can still come in and even like individual engineers just have their little task list. Like this is Zhao's stuff. He's working on a bunch of Cupertino things, and so on.
Cool. So that's projects here. That I think is a good segue to Dartlang. So right. So we have Flutter GitHub repo, which is about Flutter, but obviously Flutter is a big customer of Dart and of all you write Dart, and so many of the things that might be either buggy or you want some features added are actually Dart features and not Flutter features. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the Dartlang.
Oh, that's right. I was looking at
Yeah. So
the language funnel.
Yeah, the language funnel. So in general, just the Dartlang org is where the SDK lives, where all the things like, for example, Dart code formatting, that's Dart style, the actual test, that Flutter is building upon with their test framework. So all this is there, and you can definitely, that team is as open as Flutter in terms of features, but they also have in their language, which is where they are designing the Dart language, they have projects there. So these are all markdown files, but if you go to projects, you will see what they're looking at.
The funnel.
And it's called the funnel. And I like this because it goes from left to right, from being discussed all the way to ready for implementation. And so you can, again, it's a more structured view of like what's coming, and I think...
And so this is like the being discussed column over here on the left. And so this is the stuff that like may be part of Dart someday or might not be.
Right.
You know, like multiple return values. That's something that like Python has multiple returns, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And things like that. But maybe that fits Dart. Maybe it does not fit Dart.
I think a lot of people will be interested in the second column first thing, sound non-nullable types with incremental migration.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to be part of speccing this, then jump in.
Or just you want to be one of these thumbs.
Yeah.
You can come in and we were talking about feature requests for Flutter. It certainly applies to Dart too. If you see something in here, you can come in and say like, even just like, yes, I vote on this. This is important to me. And you can also come in and comment and being like, here's some code I wrote recently, and I would love it if it looked like this instead, something like that.
Yeah, that could be another episode of like how to write good language feature requests. Anyway, so that's that, and the last thing we could talk about is pull requests. So obviously there's there's a lot of work involved in just creating a good bug report, and you're distracting the audience by reading this.
I know. I'm like,
and me.
I can't wait for spread collections to make it.
Yeah. So if it looks like a good an easy fix, don't be afraid to create a PR. We have a lot of external contribution in Flutter.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool. And if you just want to tip your toes into Flutter development, as in like the Flutter SDK development, search for easy fix. That's a filter that the team adds to things that should be pretty easy, even for a third party or for someone who's not like super familiar with the Flutter code to fix. So I recommend it.
Sample code for popular API docs. That's definitely something that somebody could come in and do.
Yeah.
Whereas isolate termination should terminate all isolates.
Yeah, well, for Chinmay, it's easy.
Chinmay's
fix. Anyway, so yeah, thank you. Unless you have other things to add.
No, I'm just like you can check to see if anybody's assigned to it or working on it. You can check to see how the comments that people have left on it and things like that. And it's a good way to get started.
Yeah. So the main message, filing good bugs is a skill, and don't be afraid to do it.
An important skill.
An important skill. Thank you. See you next time.
Yep. Bye, everybody.